Welcome in everyone to the Hawks Eye podcast, and it is our preview show, Eye on the Prey, and you guys demanded it, so I got him back. Jason Aponte from the Sprint Right Option podcast and also covers the 49ers for SB Nation has been gracious enough to come back and talk this game for the third time this year. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It rubber matches is all the rave in baseball. And what's funny is the third time that the 49ers and Seahawks are going to meet this season, and also the third time that the 49ers and Seahawks are going to meet in the playoffs, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, all the signs are kind of pointing to something's got to give here. Who wins 2 out of 3 here?
Yeah, because each time it's been interesting. Obviously, the NFC Championship game in 2013. Then you guys kicked our asses in 2020 when we had, or 2022, I should say, with Geno and our first year without Russ. Like, it was not a pretty sight. And now we get to your point, the rubber match round 3 here in Seattle. So it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, there's different aspects to this game coming out. But before we get into it, everyone, if you are here on the Hawks Eye, head on over to Jason's channel. He does awesome work over there. And I know it's the 49ers, don't get me wrong, but if you want to have a better insight to what that team is like, head on over, sub up to Jason's channel. And anyone else that wants to enjoy this content here on the Hawks Eye, hit that sub button below. That way it'll show up in your feed and in your algorithm, and it helps both of us out with getting our content out there. And again, everyone, join the conversation in the chat. Super chats get priority, but get in there, have some friendly back and forth, talking trash. But remember, always keep it respectful and everything. So,
Yes,
outside
please.
of that, Jason, let's talk about this rivalry, man, because it feels like it's back a little bit to what it used to be when we hated each other. Not that we have ever let that go, but Niners Seahawks always feels different to me than Seahawks Rams, Seahawks Cardinals. There's just a different vibe to it. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, you see the guys talking crazy on social media. You got Richard Sherman having to pick sides in this one, which is so interesting. And I absolutely feel it. There is a little bit of different juice to it because, when the rivalry bloomed, it was. I hate the term rivalry when one team is kicking the other team's ass. That's not a rivalry. That's literally just one-sided. So for me, it was just a one-sided beef where we were just angry at you guys and we kept trying and we kept trying and you guys kept winning. Things kind of tipped the other way. Now this feels like a rivalry again, right? The 49ers win in week 1. You guys take the number 1 seed. You guys are being a little disrespectful, leaving cigars in the visitors lounge, and you're talking crazy on social media. That's what you want to see. I like that. So yeah, I think right now this is a rivalry, and that's why it's sort of fitting that it has to take this third match to figure out what's going to happen and how we remember this set of games this season.
What's really interesting too about this for me, Jason, is it's basically whoever, because we've all kind of said the team that's probably going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl is coming out of our division.
Right.
You essentially have to win the NFC West potentially 2 times to get to the Super Bowl now. If the Rams take care of business down there, against Chicago, you're going to have to win this division all over again just to get an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. But I think it's very similar like it was in 2013 when Seattle won theirs, where the Super Bowl was the NFC Championship game. I don't look at anybody on that AFC side outside of maybe Houston and Denver's defenses, but their offenses are complete messes right now where I go, yeah, are they really capable of handling a Rams team, a Seahawks team, even a 49ers team? And I know you guys are banged up, but obviously there's the potential that Fred Warner comes back. And so I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, no, he's out. He's out.
They declared him out now, right?
Yeah,
okay.
He's out. So he's out. So don't worry about that. It's the electrical substation.
Okay, so do you believe in that conspiracy theory that's going on there, Jason?
Of course I don't. I have a brain. Why would I think of that? Like I don't understand. Just to really kind of put a bow on this whole electrical substation thing. Did the electrical substation not work in 2023 when the San Francisco 49ers had incredible injury luck and nobody got hurt? All of a sudden, people just got hurt in the Super Bowl. Like, please just stop. Let's just use our brains. Let's also I had someone in the comments of my latest video saying you don't believe in the electrical substation, but you believe in COVID. Yes, I contracted COVID. That is a real thing. I didn't contract anything from electrical substations. It's the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And the idea that anyone is even grasping at this means that there's X's and O's, there's scheme, there's players, there's matchups, there's a divisional game to talk about, and we're talking about EMP things. What on earth are like? What timeline are we in? We're in the darkest timeline right now. Of course, it's not real.
When I've seen that and I've seen the collagen thing come out with your trainer and what he asked the guys to eat, I'm sitting there going, really? Like, there's just years you have a bad set of injuries. But yeah, and obviously on the Seahawks side going into this game, Sam Darnold popped up on Seattle's injury report, and a couple of things with this now, just so everyone doesn't have a freak out, because I know a lot of Seahawks fans, when they saw that, started freaking out. The NFL has now taken out the probable designation, which used
Mm-hmm.
to be there for eons, and a part of that has to do with the gambling side of things and how the NFL
Mm-hmm.
has now gotten involved in the betting world. So questionable is the lowest grade you can give somebody with them basically being able to play. What Sam explained he did, and again, I played the position, let people suck because you use a lot of your core to make throws.
Mm-hmm.
However, the fact he shut himself down and they also made him immediately available for media time tells me it's not as serious as some people initially
Mm-hmm.
think. Like, everything gets put on the injury report now. Demarcus Lawrence was out there with an Achilles injury, and you hear Mike McDonald talk about it being like, yeah, it's nothing. Like, we have to put him on there. It's part of the rules. Or you could be like the Giants and not put out there that Russell tore his hamstring or whatever it was at one point earlier this year, and he played the game, and now there's potential fines in that situation. But no one needs to panic. Sam will be out there playing. Now, again, it'll be an interesting thing to see, how he gets treated between now and Saturday. But I don't expect Sam Darnold to have too many limitations come Saturday with that injury. But outside of that, Jason, you guys beat the Eagles. And you were one of the very few people that said, hey, we can go in and beat this Eagles team. They're not as good as everyone wants to keep giving them credit for. I was of the same mindset. I had a feeling the Niners could go in there and beat the Eagles. What do you think? Obviously, losing George Kittle, huge, because he's basically a captain of a captain. Him and Fred are your kind of captains of this team. Losing him, but then still seeing this offense be able to function and move the ball and do things. How reliable is that offensive strategy going into this game now versus Seattle?
Yeah, you never want this to happen. And obviously, it's one thing to know that you weren't going to have George Kittle in this game. It's another thing to lose him in this game. That play sheet gets smaller and smaller as George Kittle's there because you didn't have Ricky Pearsall in this game. You understood that the offense was going to have to flow through Kittle and McCaffrey, and then you have a whole bunch of plays that you have to wipe out because they're designed for him. I believe Ricky Pearsall gave the acronym FGK, which it doesn't mean what you think it means. It's for George Kittle. And I think it's kind of galvanizing, right? Like a little bit. Just in the idea of what more? Just throw something else at the Niners. Throw something else at them. I look, it's right here. 85, like right here. Like we just throw something else at us, right? Obviously Jake Tonjes is the one that's gonna fill in, in this game. But I think the real replacement for George Kittle in terms of explosive plays, and I know this may sound ridiculous. I'm gonna have a full show after this on my channel about it, and I wrote about it today on Niners Nation. It's Kyle Juszczyk. And what's funny is Kyle Juszczyk in this game, he has a catch and it's for 5 yards, 6 yards, and that looks like nothing, but it's on first down. And it's on first down that keeps the drive going, right? Like it keeps you on schedule. That's what they struggled so hard with in week 18 against Seattle. Nothing was on schedule. It was either three and outs or you're looking at a little bit further back. And, like this offense now that they have the entire week now to prepare for George Kittle. Obviously, you cannot replace what George Kittle does in the run game, which is why so many people, consider him as, I don't think he's the best anymore. Sorry, 49ers fans. I think Trey McBride has taken that from him because he's been incredible. One All-Pro voter thought it was enough to give it to George Kittle. We might want to figure out who that guy is because I don't know how you can even see yourself clear of it. But the run game is where you'll really see it a little bit more. Obviously, a tremendous offensive weapon, in the pass game. But Kyle Juszczyk, man, and there's so many examples, and I'll get into it, later on the show. But I'll talk to you about it, Bryce. 2019, the San Francisco 49ers are in Seattle, right? And this play just sticks in my mind all the time. Stalk rail. They need an explosive play. And the offense, you know what's funny about that is that offense kind of mirrors what this offense is. Not the quarterback, right? Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Not the quarterback. What I mean is, they didn't have explosive players. Emmanuel Sanders, George Kittle was in the game, fine. But they needed an explosive play. And they were lining up Kyle Juszczyk this season way more in line as a tight end, right? And there's ways to sneak him out from the backfield, and he has to stay on the field every single play for run blocking. And there's ways I think that Kyle Shanahan is going to use him to leak him out either in line or maybe through the C gap, and he's just gonna be somebody who is gonna be the other underneath guy. But I think when they need an explosive play or they're down and their backs against the wall, because I do think Seattle's gonna punch first and they're gonna make the 49ers punch back, I think it's gonna be Kyle Juszczyk that is gonna be the one, like whatever his over under is, and this isn't a betting thing, whatever his over under is, and I smashed it against Philadelphia. It was 12 and a half. He got that on one catch. Whatever the over-under is, take the over in this one. I think Kyle Juszczyk's going to be far more involved in the passing game, just based on the fact that I think the 49ers won't be able to run the ball similar to Week 18. And I do think that Kyle Shanahan is going to try to find a way to generate explosive plays through him. It sounds crazy. He's a fullback. But I just have a feeling that everything is going to be in the toolbox and everything's going to have to be at the disposal.
So with that being said, when we look at this kind of injury report for you guys coming in this game, obviously you already addressed Fred Warner. Now you've got Kittle out, Juszczyk and Tonjes are going to take most of that. Where's Ricky Pearsall in all this? Do you think he plays this Sunday? He's been a limited participant. They put him as questionable. Do you think he finally comes back? Because that will help your passing attack. Because, again, Kyle Juszczyk can only do so much. Tonjes can only do so much. They need somebody else because – for a fact, now that Kittle's out of the game, Nick Eamon-Warry is going to basically be following CMC everywhere he goes.
He better play. If he doesn't play in this game, and you're relying again on Demarcus Robinson and Jawan Jennings to try to gain explosives when your defense is so fast, your light box percentage is the lowest in the NFL. And you know why? Because you can stop the run in nickel. You can stop the run from everywhere. Like your defense is so fast. They can get back, they can get down. If you don't have anyone that is even threatening further down the field, then all it does is condense the field, make windows tighter, make you play faster, and it plays all into Mike Macdonald's hands. We didn't speak after the Week 18 game, right? But I felt like when you went for it on fourth down that first time, and you didn't convert, that scared the hell out of me. You know why? Because one, you guys never go for it on fourth down. But two, Mike Macdonald knew right away, this offense isn't going to be able to move the football down the field on us. I'm good with it. You know what? We don't get it now. We'll get the ball back and we'll score again. What happened? They got the ball back. They scored again. That is scary, right? So that was the first clue. When Mike Macdonald went for it on fourth down, I was like, oh no, they don't respect this offense and they don't respect their ability to get down the field. I am afraid now. And what happened? 3 and out, punt. Diamador Lenore loses contain. Zach Charbonnet walks into the end zone, 7-0. Like, if you don't have even just that inkling, like Ricky Pearsall, he doesn't have to catch 7 passes for 147 yards, which I'd love that. But that isn't the impact, right? In week 1, and again, let's just make sure that we keep it completely transparent. Week 1, your defense, that's not the defense that we're seeing today.
No,
that's not.
It is not.
No. But the 49ers had, and this is hilarious to me to go back and think about, the 49ers had Marcus Valdes-Scantling and Russell Gage playing significant snaps at the wide receiver position in that game. But the one thing I will say about MVS is he was running a hell of a bunch of clear out routes because of speed. So you at least have someone, even if you know the ball's not going his way, you have someone that you're going that way. Now, what does that do, Bryce? It opens up dagger inside. Now you can throw that inside, that dig that is so big for Pearsall. But the problem is now Pearsall has to be both of those things. Pearsall has to be the guy that is taking the top off the defense, but he also has to be the guy that is beating man. And also, by the way, Reek Woolen is not that guy from week one. Like, this whole defense is completely different. But without Ricky Pearsall and without somebody that's going to push the football down the field, or at least give you an inkling that they can, then you might see a lot of. I mean, I don't suspect that we'll just score 3 points again, but everything's going to be a slog. Everything's going to be hard. Every single yard that the 49ers gained in that game in week 18 was difficult. Nothing looked easy. Nothing was open. There was never a time where you were like, hey, there's the offense. Like, it was that one drive and then the tip pass and it's off McCaffrey and that was it. But if you don't have any of that, then it just plays right into Mike McDonald's hands and that Seattle defense. So, Ricky Pearsall, you better play, man. And you better be able to show that you can get down the field, and you better be able to be that man beater, because in tough situations, that's what's going to be the only thing that scares this Seattle defense.
So speaking about scaring each other's defenses, let's talk about these QBs a little bit. And there's all these narratives nationally. You and me talked about them, how people view Brock Purdy, how people view Sam Darnold. People are saying, like, this is, Sam Darnold's the X factor in this game. He's got to prove that he can win. I've heard all these people say, he hasn't proved it yet. Okay, the guy's had one playoff run, let's be honest, with a beaten up Minnesota team that went in and played a very good Rams team, and they had the book on Kevin O'Connell, right? They sacked him 9 times, didn't let Jefferson or any of those receivers get going last year in that game. I don't expect that to be the case in this one. But the one thing for me that's driven me a little bit to a point of frustration, Jason, I want to get your thoughts on it with Sam. And I'm not putting Sam as a top 5 NFL quarterback, so we can take that right out of the question. But this whole narrative about Sam not being able to play in clutch moments. And for me, the first one that comes to my mind is the overtime drive where he has to go down the field after the Rams have scored to take the lead and makes 2 massive throws to Cooper Kupp in probably the best throw of his career.
Easily.
And then the touchdown throw to JSN. And I go, okay, so he proved it there. And it's like, for me, it feels like anytime Sam does do something like that, the obstacle moves. Well, it was, it was overtime and Shaheed got them back in the game and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay. And then he comes and plays you guys. Yeah, he doesn't throw a touchdown, but he doesn't turn the ball over. He goes 20 of 26 and plays complimentary football to a running game that was dominating and doing what he's required and beats a divisional foe to win the division and get the number 1 seed. And then now I hear more people trying to move the goalposts again and be like, well, it's over here now. And it's like, what, like, outside of this guy winning a Super Bowl, I even feel if he wins this week and throws for 275 yards and 2 touchdowns, Seattle wins. They'll be like, yeah, but the 49ers were really beat up, so we're going to move the goalposts again. Mm-hmm. How do you view that? Because I feel like people have done that with Brock Purdy early on in his career with moving the goalposts on him and what he was accomplishing.
Yeah, it's very much a coping mechanism. It's hoping. It's hopium. It's hopium and copium. It's hoping that, that Sam turns into the guy that, that people saw before he had his time in Minnesota. And then, the end of that season with Minnesota, it certainly didn't help because it's not only the Rams game. You have to remember it's the Week 18 game against Detroit too, where he kind of imploded a little bit. And you're almost kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But hoping for that and predicting it's not my bag in this one. That's not what I'm thinking about right now. It's funny because it's 2 games against the 49ers, hasn't thrown a touchdown, hasn't thrown an interception. The only turnover he's had is the Nick Bosa turnover at the end of week 1. I thought he was fine in week 18. When you're able to run the football that well and your defense is playing that well, what more do you want from the quarterback? The thing that the 49ers are going to have to do, and the way that he's going to be able to dispel the narrative, is this. The 49ers have to, on first and second down, slow down the run. If you're slowing down the run and you've got him back in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, now make him make some throws. We'll see then. But we didn't see that in week 18 because it never really popped up. For God's sakes, on 3rd and 17, you ran for 19 yards. I mean, what do you want Sam Darnold to do? What do you want Sam Darnold to do, man? So look, for me, I think there is wishing on a star that Sam Darnold just forgets how to play football. But the only way to push him into those situations where he can turn the football over is if you stop the run on first and second down. And that remains to be seen that the 49ers can do it. I have so many thoughts about what you guys did in week 18. I don't like it. I told you, I don't like it. I know Kubiak was watching. I don't like what you were doing. I don't like that you were giving Kenneth Walker the football. I don't like it.
Hey, but look on this side. We didn't figure out how to use Shaheed yet, so you got half that problem still a problem for us.
I don't stop saying his name, okay? I don't need him figuring that out either. I don't need him figuring that out either in this one. But the only way that you can even push Sam Darnold into situations where those things can happen is if you're slowing down the run. If you're able to run the football on 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 1, then how is Sam Darnold supposed to throw interceptions and implode in your face? That's where the 49ers have to force him to try to make that happen.
Well, and it's interesting you bring that up because that's how I view it. And that's how you beat most quarterbacks that aren't in that top 5 is put them in 3rd and long, put them in a pure drop back where you take away play action, you take away a lot of the quick passes and say, okay, now we need you to win the game consistently from that point. And most quarterbacks
and straight drop back.
Yeah, but most quarterbacks in that situation can maybe make 3 or 4 of those throws in a game. If you put a team in that situation where it's multiple times outside of that, that's where you start to win football games. And I look at that as also a indictment on Clint Kubiak as an offensive coordinator. We've seen it all year, and it's been one of my biggest issues with him is you are not good enough when you get behind the changes of play caller. You just don't have it. And it's part of the system. The system's meant to stay ahead of the chains and have play action to it and all that. The pure dropback side's not really there. And I think, when we talk about OCs and you and me have these conversations, this is where McVay separates himself because he's got a better pure dropback game than I think Kyle and Clint have coming out of the system. But that's okay. If you can, to your point, run the ball effectively and not take negatives and allow yourself to stay in 3rd and under 7, Sam Darnold's going to win you football games. Look at what Joe Flacco did. 2012 Ravens team ran the ball well, played good defense.
So we're just bringing up yeah.
I was saying I wasn't talking about the Super Bowl yet. I was just getting to the Super Bowl. He got to the Super Bowl. I wasn't going to mention the whole lights go out and that whole debacle that happened there. But no, man, and that's how I look at Brock Purdy too. In a lot of ways, people have their criticisms of Purdy. My view of Purdy is he is almost in the exact same mold as a Sam Darnold, where if you ask Brock to go and throw it 45 times in a game and put him in 3rd and long, you're not going to be successful all the time. It's just not his game. But you get him on the move. You allow Brock to extend some plays here and there and use his legs and allow him to play on time and on rhythm. Brock Purdy's going to move the ball on you consistently down the field as long as his run game's effective. So I think it's one of these things where it's going to be interesting for Sam because I think if he wins, people will move the goalposts. If he loses, it'll come out with Sam's saw ghost. Even if he has a good game or average game, Sam's the reason Seattle didn't win, which I just think personally is a whole crock of shit. But let's talk about this because I'm interested on your side of it as much as I'm interested on mine. So when Seattle walked in week 18, I swear Clint Kubiak was listening to you because it was like, hey, let's use Ken Walker this week. Let's get Ken Walker going. And Ken Walker went up and down the field, and then Zach Charbonnet went off as well at different points in that game, and the run game came to life. How do you think Robert Saleh addresses trying to take away Seattle's success on 1st and 2nd down? Because he started to bring a 5th guy up at points, but he never really stacked the box to take it away. Do you think that's something he changes this time?
No, I don't. You know what you changed, and I don't like it. Clint Kubiak, he was so good with motion when he was with New Orleans. You had 32 runs on week 18. 20 of them used motion. And you were able to get physical off of the motion. And those runs were your most successful runs. Your EPA shot through the roof on those 20 runs that you had with motion. It was 0.12 EPA per rush on motion. On those 12 rushes that you did not use motion, your EPA dropped to negative 0.05. That's not a coincidence. And that is a new wrinkle that you just rolled out in week 18 because you guys are just, holding on to things when you need to like really pop them out. I don't like it. I don't like it. That's what's the one thing that I kept looking at on film. And I'm like, man, that's something that's not been there. You guys haven't been running as much motion off of not only just regularly, because you guys are, I believe, middle of the pack in motion overall, but motion on runs was allowing you to get guys in motion and get physical. I don't like it. I don't like it. So hopefully, Robert Saleh, I know that you're probably game planning. If you're watching, don't let it happen again. And make sure that you are out. But the problem is this now. If Kubiak is innovative and he wants to stack, right? You stack all of what you just saw in week 18 and hope that the 49ers start to pick up on that. And now you can use motion off of that and now turn it into play action and now turn it into drop back. Like, I don't like any of that. I didn't like any of it because it was so successful. Now, did the 49ers miss 18 tackles in that game? Sure. Did the 49ers forget how to set the edge? Sure. Don't like any of those things. But the motion off of the runs and how successful it was and how high the EPA was off of those runs, I don't like it. And I didn't like it when I was watching it. And when I watch that, God forbid, that godforsaken all 22, I just kept noticing how you were getting guys in motion, in speed, and moving them, and they were moving guys off the ball. I don't like it. The line of scrimmage and exactly how the 49ers have to they have to get back to at least pushing the line of scrimmage back. You have to not get blown off the ball that way. And you did it in a new way with all that motion. 20 of 32 runs with motion, all of them basically successful. The other 12 minus, that's when you saw sometimes where you saw the 49ers get in there. Kubiak, stop with the motion. Like, listen to me here. Like, stop.
The other interesting part about that was actually when I was watching that game and they came out prior with their inactives and active list that Seattle does. And Seattle, obviously Elijah Royal's been out, but they've had another rookie tight end, Nick Callerup, who's kind of been their third guy most of the year. And all of a sudden he was inactive. And the first thing that popped into my head was, I wonder if they're going to use Robbie Ouzts at fullback in motion and start doing things with him. And all of a sudden, Robbie Ouzts over the back half of the season, the more they've incorporated him allowing to shift and move like the tight end he was at Alabama, his blocking has picked up in the run game. And when I went back and watched the All-22, seeing him and Saubert and all these guys move around and even using Cooper Kupp and Jake Bobo at points to get in on that motion and those seal blocks was huge, especially on that 3rd and 17 run, which I know broke John Lynch and I think a lot of the Niner Nation on that one when Ken Walker, 3rd and 17, will run a toss play and get a first down. But on the flip side of this, Jason, George Kittle's out for you now. How much does that affect your run game? Because you talked about Kyle Juszczyk being such a important part to the passing game now, but his total of snaps is probably going to go up the more than what it's been. How does having George Kittle, and it's obviously going to be an effect, but how much of an effect does it play into that run game and that scheme that you guys use down there?
A huge amount. And he played in that game in week 18. The only thing that changes now is Trent Williams is there, and the 49ers didn't run any outside zone towards his side. And every time you ran against, behind Austin Pleasance, things weren't good. But I've got bad news. I love Trent Williams. You're so good outside zone, inside runs, because you don't have to load the box. If you want to go outside, Ernest Jones and Eamon Warrior on it. You want to go inside, a defensive line is going to stop it. I don't suspect that the 49ers are going to get the running game going in this game. And it's going to be as tough sledding as the same as it was against Philadelphia. This game is going to boil down to just showing the run, just so you don't, get complacent and start to think that it's one-dimensional. But everything's got to be extension of the run game. How? Throws to Christian McCaffrey, throws to Kyle Juszczyk. I don't see the running game changing much, right? Like in this game. Like I really don't see the 49ers flipping a switch, because no matter how much Philly wants to be the Seahawks. And Kyle Posey of Niners Nation, I think he laid it out perfectly, and he called them the Sheen Seahawks. I thought that was perfect. I just don't think that it's as simple as all that, and I just think that yeah, you can run behind Trent. Maybe you'll gain 2 or 3 yards more, but man, this is not going to change because now you know who you're facing. And that defense is so fast, they can get outside, they can play inside. So running the football is really just going to be more about showing it and showing you that, hey, listen, we're not just going away, so we're not going away from it. And, it's just more about showing it, but you're going to have to find ways to get the football and keep your offense on schedule. 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6, right? At least keep yourself close, like where the play calling doesn't get, the play calling doesn't get, stagnant or predictable. So I don't suspect that the running game is going to be a little bit better. I'm happy Trent Williams is back, but George Kittle was there in Week 18, and the 49ers were still failing to run the football, even when they were running to his side. So it's not going to change much, in my opinion.
Which is kind of an unfortunate thing because you'd think there'd be some wrinkles. Now, the one thing I will ask you about that, Jason, is do you expect them to use, and someone actually brought up in the chat, do they need to use Brian Robinson Jr. a little more to, like, considering now, Kittle's going to be one of the main focal points of this or not Kittle, sorry, CMC is going to be one of the main focal points with Kittle out. Do you need to spill him more because he's going to be needed to be used as a pass catcher more than maybe he was prior, because you're going to have to make Kittle's numbers in the aggregate, essentially.
He's not going to play. And look, and this is not because I don't want him to play. The flexibility that Christian McCaffrey gives him, Kyle Shanahan is what I mean, as a play caller. The idea that whenever he's on the field, you don't know what's coming. Could be a pass, could be a run. When Brian Robinson's on the field, you know exactly what you're going to do, right? Kyle's going to need that optionality. And he's going to at least need that defense to at least defend every blade of grass. You're not going to be able to do that with Brian Robinson. Maybe short yardage, situations. You need a yard. Usually you'll just see Christian go like this. One play, I'm going to come off. But Kyle's play calling becomes so much more limited when Brian Robinson's on the field. And the defense knows exactly what's coming. And it's not that Brian Robinson's been bad. The sad part is that Brian Robinson, when he's been on the field and when he touches the football, he's been very good. He's been very good. And I think he's a perfect complement to the style. Like, he runs inside, he runs hard. But the problem is that in a game where you are trying to keep a defense and you're playing chess, when you put him on the field, you're essentially giving away what this play is going to be. And that's not good because the defense then can just move up, because otherwise, if McCaffrey's on the field, you can do so much more. You can have him run off of the line of scrimmage at somebody, run the option route. You're not going to be able to do that with Brian Robinson. So Brian Robinson will get some snaps, but it's going to be hard to take Christian McCaffrey off the field, and it's going to be hard to be able to mask what you're doing when Robinson's on the field.
So let's talk about this matchup for you, because I know we've talked about it a little bit, but this is really, like, to the point of what you'd mentioned earlier on, like how you felt about it when you saw Mike McDonald go for it on 4th down in Week 18 and go, I'm not worried about this 49er offense
He was
sustaining drives and going down the field. If Ricky Pearsall is back, do you think Mike views it any different now that Kittle's out, or does he view it similarly to how he did in Week 18?
No, I think he does view it differently, and I think he's smart enough to understand that part of it. Look, again, man beaters who can win on their own. Every other single wide receiver aside from Brandon Ayuk, I don't even like saying his name, 49er fans, I'm sorry. They get schemed open. Juwan Jennings, every single dollar that he's ever made in the NFL, he owes Kyle Shanahan a percentage. Demarcus Robinson doesn't go crazy in this NFL game without Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, right? Ricky Pearsall is the one guy independently that when he's lined up and he's right, he can win one-on-one. And if you try to allocate, if you want to get crazy and you want to allocate more resources his way, I don't think you will, because I think your defense is good enough to say, listen, whoever's lined up on Ricky, we'll take our chances. We'll go with it. Like Mike McDonald, while he's going to be worried about that, will take his chances and say, Ricky Pearsall, go beat us. Go beat us. It's on you. Go ahead. See if you can go crazy on us. But it's just more about the effect, right? Like, there's so much more to having an X receiver who becomes somebody who can get themselves open independently, and the effect that it has, that it opens things up for everybody else. If Pearsall was there with Kittle, now you're talking about something that is so much more hard to defend, because Pearsall can run a clear out. Then you've got crossers with Kittle, and if you're not getting pressure up front, then Purdy has time to dissect the field. It's just, you get a little hairy and it gets a little worrisome when you're looking at Pearsall, Tonjes, Demarcus Robinson, Jawan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne. Please learn how to line up. One day it'll finally help. And that's when things will get a little hairy, because Seattle's so fast and they can play downhill and they can play closer to the line. I still believe that while McDonald will be worried about Pearsall, he's still going to put the emphasis on, like, go ahead and go beat us then. And if Pearsall has the game of his life, so be it. You'll take your chances. So, but Pearsall being there at least just puts it in your mind that somebody is going to be, able to get down the field, and you have to watch out for him. Because if you remember the week 1 game, and again, that's not the defense that's going to be walking through that door on Saturday, that 45-yard catch by Ricky Pearsall is essentially what got the 49ers into their range, to be able to throw that Hail Mary, well, not Hail Mary, but like that miracle pass to Jake Tonjes at the end of that game. But they don't get there without Ricky Pearsall being able to get down the field. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely has to make, you just have to have somebody who can at least threaten. That's it. That's what you're really looking for.
So it was really interesting this week with Mike McDonald, because I can't remember who exactly in Seattle's media asked him about basically the personnel group with Seattle. I want to kind of get your thoughts on it, because I know you're an X's and O guy just like I am. But Mike McDonald basically said Seattle actually plays a 4-3 principal defense.
I saw that.
Nicky Manwari is essentially our Sam linebacker. And
he's just an athletic Sam.
Right. And I went, that's really interesting. And our dime is essentially a 4-3 nickel. And I went, okay, so the way I got to ask you this, Jason, is now knowing that about how Mike views this defense and the way that they're principally set up, what defensive look that Seattle, you've seen them give the 49ers on film, gives you the most uncomfortable feeling when you see it line up on the field on Saturday and you go, okay, crap, see, Mike's got something in his bag?
Like, your base is fine, but you guys are running nickel on 1st and 2nd down. And now you're like, all right. And the thing is, too, down and distance. If it's 2nd and 10 and you're in nickel, like, the thing about your defense is this. Even in nickel, let's say the 49ers want to get froggy and they want to run the football 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. You still can defend the run and stuff it. And that's the problem, is that there's not weaknesses here. And when you're watching them, it doesn't matter what look you're giving. Again, your light box percentage is the highest in the league, because you have guys that can fly down, and you have the guys up front that can make the plays. It's the down and distance that scares me. 2nd and 10, 3rd and 7. Now you're in nickel. You're not only are the 49ers predictable, but even if the 49ers are, let's just say, in let's say 3rd and 5, right? Let's say 3rd and 5, but they're in 4-down territory. And usually on 3rd and 5, if you see a run, that means either the 49ers are giving up the drive, or they're just trying to get themselves a little bit closer for a 4th down shot. When you're in nickel, you can do whatever you want, right? Like, you generally, when teams are in nickel, they're giving up essentially a linebacker out of base, which you probably should be able to attack in the run game. You don't have that disadvantage, like, at all. Like, essentially, you just have guys that can fill run gaps and are run defenders. There's not a look that you guys have that there's a weakness in. But the problem is that the 49ers have to be able to put themselves in down and distances where they can attack you guys and keep you on your toes where you're not in control. This game has to go the 49ers way in terms of pace and in terms of punching a little bit. Like they have to punch back a little bit and make you guys think, okay, we're changing a little bit up. When everything's going your way, that's when things snowball, and that's kind of what you saw in week 18. And I don't think that's what's going to happen again, but that is one of the outcomes because of how good you guys are on defense.
Who on Seattle's defense, outside of Nick Gieman-Wari, who we know is just a weapon, and you hate every team in the NFL to this day for letting him get to Mike McDonald?
Nice job, guys. Way to scout. Fastest guy at the combine who can fly around and hit. I don't want him on my team. Why would we draft him?
Oh, Jason, when you said if that guy ends up in Seattle, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I was in the stands, and I was just like, I swear to Superman, like, just please no, like please no. Yeah, he's incredible, man, and he's just getting better. And the thing is he's making Mike McDonald better. That's what's pissing me off. It's like Mike McDonald already like knew like what he was doing, when it came to like disguising things. Now he can disguise whatever the hell they want and do whatever the hell they want because of where he can play. He can literally play linebacker, safety. Like whatever, man. I'm sorry.
So outside of him, Jason, who on Seattle's defense do you go, okay, we've got to find a way to limit his impact on the game?
Ernest Jones, I mean, especially on outside runs, like you've got to be able to get Juszczyk out there to get him blocked up. This has to be a game where Juszczyk and Luke Farrell, our prized offseason signing, guys brought here to block, but can't block, can't catch, fine, whatever. But it's got to be them. Like when you're running outside zone, and if you're going to run behind Trent, then everybody has to do their job, get to their spot, seal off these blocks. You cannot let Ernest Jones shoot those gaps. That's exactly where they were beating them when they were trying to run outside zone. They weren't running it well to the left side against Austin Pleasance. But Ernest Jones, man, you got to slow him down. You can't run outside zone without Trent Williams. But now that you have Trent, you have to make sure that you're doing that because you have to stay away from the inside runs because you guys are so good against that. That's the only real way that the 49ers are going to be able to pop an explosive play running the football is outside zone. So Ernest Jones, man, you got to get him out of the way.
That's fair. And then, you've got Byron Murphy and DeMarcus Lawrence and Leonard Williams, and they're all hanging. And we get Kobe Bryant back this week in our back end to play with June Love. So we'll see how it all shakes up. But I definitely like the Ernest Jones situation there for us. But let's talk about playoff football is about moments here, Jason. And, red zone, third downs, busted coverage, huge stops. For you, which team do you think handles chaos better?
The Niners. And that's not even me being biased. Don't crack a door open. Like, don't even leave it open for this team. Given everything that this team has been through, do not crack the door open. You look at that Philadelphia game, and early on, Philadelphia is running the football, and the 49ers look like they can't stop a nosebleed. And then, Philadelphia's offense does what Philadelphia's offense does, and they just stop working, and they have no idea what they're doing. That helps a ton. But you crack the door open a little bit, and then Kyle gets in his bag, calls that trick play, Juwan Jennings to Christian McCaffrey. That stadium goes silent. And then you've already got the momentum going because Philadelphia's offense is just doing what Philadelphia's offense does, which is just not execute and run hitches, in front of the sticks and, make Jalen Hurts throw the football, which, again, I don't think much of him as a passer and as a quarterback. But you can't crack the door open for the 49ers. And I just feel like the only reason I'm saying this is this. You guys are new to this a little bit, especially under Mike McDonald. You're new to this. We're watching a new team with you guys. Sam Darnold's in his first season as your quarterback. Mike McDonald's got his defense going. We have only really seen you in that Rams game kind of have this chaotic game in which you were able to come out of it. But when you've got a battle tested playoff team, like the 49ers have won playoff games that they've had no business winning, right? Beating the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay without an offensive touchdown. Um, Last week, nobody suspected that the 49ers were going to be able to go into Philadelphia, especially after losing George Kittle. I'll always rely on the team that has been here many times and has been, able to weather storms. So this isn't me being, biased or anything like that. You just haven't been put in that position as much as the 49ers, and I think that's why I give us the nod.
And I think that's totally fair, to be honest with you. Again, this isn't a Legion of Boom Seattle team that's been through the playoff ringer constantly. We're talking about a team that a lot of these guys, this will be one of their second playoff games, first playoff games in some aspects, even for some of our veterans that have been on really bad franchises, haven't been to the playoffs. So this is a new thing with a new head coach, and it's going to be interesting. So that's where I get to the second question on this topic here, Jason, is it's a big third down late in the game. The game's close because we both figure it might be closer than it was in week 18.
Yep.
Who do you trust more to push the right button at the right time in that situation, Kyle or Mike McDonald? And you can take into factor the health and everything. Who do you trust more in that situation?
Man, I don't want to be biased again, but that play call for the 49ers that scored the game-winning touchdown, in which you have Christian McCaffrey cross the formation into a Texas route to be the last in the progression, and it was out of another look. They tried to they showed it out of the same look, but they ran it a different way. Right now, college is dialed in. And I know week 18 isn't your best example because I wasn't a fan of the play calling in week 18. But, this whole like back against the wall, nobody believes in us, and Kyle lying about knowing the spread, even though he told Mac Jones before that first Rams game, can you believe the spread is 10.5 now in this game? Like, don't lie. You see all of that. You see all of that. But like that play call right there on third and goal, gotta have it. That's a football sicko's dream right there, because Brock steps up, 1, 2, knows exactly where 3 is, but 3 is not supposed to be somebody who's running a Texas route from the other side of the field. No linebacker was going to be able to cover that. I'm going to trust Kyle because he was in his bag, and I thought he game planned beautifully for Philadelphia, and then especially without George Kittle, I thought he adjusted very well.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation because if this was last year, I would lean more to Kyle. I would.
Mhm.
But I feel like Mike this year, going against McVay as he has, going against Kyle as he has, I feel like Mike now has a better understanding of exactly what you're talking about. Where I don't know if a Vic Fangio, because he doesn't see Kyle all that often,
Right.
is going to be prepared for that moment. Exactly what you're talking about, where I feel like that's something where Mike might be a little bit more like, hey, you know what? There's a chance Kyle's going to do something that most people wouldn't count for. To your point, a Texas route being the third progression on the backside of an overload play isn't something a team that doesn't see the 49ers is going to expect. But a guy that sees them as frequently as Mike does, I think that to me is almost a coin flip, almost a one where you're relying on the
That's fair.
players
Very fair.
to make the play. And that's where I'm kind of sitting with that, because I think both of them are so good at scheming, so good at feeling, where they are in that moment with what their teams are doing. It'll be an interesting one. But let's get into this, Jason. I want to do the 2-minute drill with you because who knows, for one of us, this is going to be the last game of the football season. So obviously 12 questions, 2-minute drill. You got one timeout to move to the next one. So question one Seahawk players that San Francisco fans are underestimating.
Week 1.
Okay.
Week 1.
Question.
I think they're just week 1. They're just like going off of that. That's not that guy now.
Fair point. I agree with you. I think he's going to get a nice bag this offseason from somebody. Question 2. 149er Seattle fans should be worried about this Saturday.
Kyle Juszczyk. I'm going to stand on it, and I think that Kyle Juszczyk's going to be annoying. He's going to get you 5 and 6 yards, and he's going to be annoying to keep the 49ers on schedule.
Okay. Who wins the run game?
Seattle.
That pains you so bad. I could see how
Yeah.
much. Question 4: which QB do you trust more late? I think this is an obvious one for you.
Yeah, Brock. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, agreed. Question 5: which defense forces the first turnover?
Seattle.
Okay. Question 6: who's going to control the middle of the field this game?
Seattle.
Question 7: one unsung player who swings the game either way for each team.
Ricky Pearsall, I think, in this one, just being there and just being able to get down the field.
Okay. Question 8: if this turns ugly and physical, who benefits more?
The 49ers.
Okay. Question 9: who wins the red zone battle?
Seattle.
Question 10: one moment in this game fans will remember.
The 49ers will defer. They'll get the ball before the half and then score into the half and out of the half.
Okay. Question 11: what will Seattle have to do to finish this game off?
Run the football and just don't turn the football over.
Okay. Question 12: what will the 49ers do to remind everyone who they are?
Be physical on the ball and create explosive plays. I think that's the only way that they can really keep this game close.
Okay. And the sudden death one: game on the line, one
Uh-huh.
drive.
Uh-huh.
Who do you trust more, the 49ers offense or the Seattle Seahawks defense?
49ers offense. I think that Kyle, while we're looking at scripted plays, opening games and out of the half, I think he's got one scripted for when it's done, at the end of the game where he has plays that are go-tos based on the things that he's been seeing.
All right, man. That was a 2-minute drill. I thought that was really, really good. I think that's especially the one where you said the 2 scoring drives coming in and out of the half, I think are really, really interesting. Yeah, it's funny for question 8 though, because I feel that benefits Seattle if it gets ugly and physical.
Oh, I mean, I agree with you. But what I mean is we got
It
punched in the
slows the
face.
game down. Yeah.
Right, well, and we got punched in the face in week 18. If the game's physical, that means the 49ers are punching back. And that's
True.
what really I meant more than that and anything. You guys are going to be physical regardless, but the 49ers just can't get whipped like that again.
No, I agree with you. And so with us having rambled on here for an hour, and I know you got a hard out here in a little bit, we're going to get to some of these comments and questions. And we know we've got a lot of guys and people over from the Sprint Right option side on this, which is absolutely fantastic. You guys have been awesome in the chat, as well as everyone here on the Hawks
Shout out.
side. So first one up, Maria Red goes, I think Juice is going to have a big role too. So again, coming over from your side, that there's a lot of steam behind this Juice being an impactful player this Saturday.
Yeah, it had to happen out of necessity, but there are plays where the 49ers have scripted for him. It's just Jimmy Garoppolo misses them. I'm gonna, if you guys tune into the show after this, I'm gonna post the film clips of where Kyle Juszczyk is running wide open and Jimmy Garoppolo just throws it into the stands, and you watch Kyle Shanahan throw his hands up. But I don't suspect that Brock Purdy is going to do that, and I do think that those plays are going to be back.
All right, next one up here is Maria Red again going, Jason, do you think Sky Moore will get more traction on offense?
It's hard, just because the reliance on Demarcus Robinson, Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne's a little bit ahead of him. I think Sky Moore is just on the field more for jet sweeps, things like that. I think that his contributions will be limited to special teams. Unless Kyle has an explosive play that he wants to pull out of his trick bag, it'll be him. But I don't suspect that he'll get many snaps.
All right, we got one in here from CMD Carney. Goes, it seems like Darnold struggles when he has 30 plus attempts. So I have been of this kind of mantra with this guys in this offense that are successful are guys that are throwing under 32 times a game total.
Yeah.
When we played the Rams and lost, Sam by the third quarter was up to like 37 attempts. And I went, okay, the recipe's out the window right now for success because you're putting too much of a pass volume. Because I'm of the belief of this, Jason, when you get over that 28 to 32 range of attempts, you're getting into more pure drop back passing than you are play action passing, because you're not play action passing, 60% of your offensive pass attempts in a game. Are you of that same kind of feeling with that kind of number?
Um, for anybody, you really don't want to live there in that number, right? And you're talking about more chances to turn the football over, more bad things that can happen. You don't want to live there, right? And when you're running the football, like Sam Darnold going 20 for 26 and not throwing any touchdowns, that's a perfect recipe to win the football game. It means one, you're not pressed on offense. Two, you're not putting too much pressure on him. And three, he's making timely throws in those 26 times to keep drives moving and still be a threat in the passing game. I don't think it's advantageous for any quarterback to be in that 30 plus pass attempts range, because more bad things can happen, just based off law of averages. So, yeah, I mean, anybody, it seems like, Josh Allen shouldn't be throwing the ball that many times. Brock Purdy threw it, how many times was it? 33, 19 for 33, two interceptions. Like that's just kind of where you don't want to live, honestly. So I think that I think anybody that keeps it under 20, if you are able to keep it under 20, means that you're doing everything right. You're not putting too much pressure on the quarterback, and you're running the football very well.
I totally agree with you. And we've got Carney back in here with goes, I hope the refs let them play. Yes, for God's sakes, please let them play. Don't get all the worst thing for me in this, Jason, on either side, for you guys or for us, is like some ticky-tacky call completely throws the game out of whack. And it's like, okay, like the refs got involved to a point now where you've actually had a legitimate impact. Just that was the great thing, in my opinion, in some respects, that 2013 NFC Championship game was they didn't get really ticky-tacky with calls. They let the teams play. And it's probably, to this point, one of the best championship games of all time, in my opinion, was that 2013 one.
I hate that game.
I know you hate that game, but from a football perspective, it was one of the few games where the refs didn't ruin it to an extent.
Navarro Bowman stripped Marshawn Lynch, but ball don't
Yes.
lie on the next play, so it's fine. Like I can let that go.
Fair enough. And we've got Avatar singing here goes, Greg Cusel said it's almost impossible to run like Seattle did 2 weeks in a row against the same opponent. And I agree with that. Kubiak's gonna have to prove he can come up with a different way to run the ball.
Yeah, that motion stuff, knock it off. Kubiak, I don't like it. I don't like it. I think as a diehard Seattle Seahawks fan, I think we should get back to just running the football off of motion. And you got to put Kenneth Walker on the bench, man. I don't like his attitude. I think that you should start Zach Charbonnet and give him the football all the time.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's just the recipe for success. And
I couldn't believe it. Somebody tweeted me during the game, and they were just like, "Dude, Kubiak was listening to you," and I was like, "Son of a, like, unbelievable, man!" Like the guy doesn't want to turn it over to Walker all season. In Week 18, he's just like, "They'll never see this coming."
Oh yeah, and the fact that all of a sudden we've unlocked our screen game in Seattle with Ken Walker, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. Here we go.
That's the fantasy guy that I drafted. My God, where was that all season?
That could have won you a championship, man. And the thing that was the best part about that, in my opinion, too, was it wasn't like they completely turned it over to Ken and were like, you're the only back. No. Now we're going to figure out how to get Charbonnet involved correctly and let him be an explosive factor in the run game, too. So we finally figured it out, guys. Took us all season, but we figured out how to rotate these two and get them both being impactful. So
I don't like it.
Hey, maybe this week, Jason, they don't get those two going properly, but then you got to play with the other half of that equation that you didn't want to see working. That didn't work in that game, but maybe it works in this one, and that's Rashid Shaheed.
No, I think this week, honestly, Kubiak should lean into throwing the football to the tight ends and just try to use them as much as he can. Throw the Cooper Cup a little too. I'm fine with
that. We've got Travely in here goes, Bryant is the weak link on that defense to me. I would actually, to be honest, I love Kobe Bryant. Loved him since we drafted him. I also really liked when they signed Tyler Cotta. I will say, in my opinion, this year, Tyler Cotta has actually played better than Kobe Bryant has. And the reason I say that isn't that Kobe's like all of a sudden forgot how to play. He's still been very good. The difference is Tyler Cotta is such a better tackler in open space. And you saw that, I think, to a point in some of the 49er Week 18 matchup where you see this guy come flying down, and it's not Julian Love, and all of a sudden it's Ty Okada out in the flat with whether it's CMC or one of these guys, and it's down to the ground. Kobe struggles with that sometimes. And it's partly because Kobe's been a corner his whole life till the last 2 years that he switched over to safety in Seattle.
Yeah, it's just who you're going to use to attack him. And maybe that's where Jay just comes in, a little bit. But it just, the problem is that, Tonjes has a tough time separating, right? Brock, Quinyon Mitchell's on Jake Tonjes. Don't throw the football to Jake Tonjes. What are we doing, man? Come on, man.
No, he had the success in week 1. That's what Brock's living off of.
That's what 49ers fans are living off of right now, is that week 1 game. And that team is not walking through the door today. But that doesn't mean that the 49ers can't walk away with this victory. It's just that game definitely feels like last season. That is not the team you're facing this team right now. So again, yes, you have data points that you can look at. Week 1's generally weird, but I'm not leaning on that game as the reason where I'm you know what, they did it once, they can do it again. I think the 49ers can win on their own accord, and it has nothing to do with what happened on week 1.
All right, we got 604. Lobo's in here, goes, Bryce, what's your opinion on Geno? So I'm assuming you mean Geno Smith. Has anything come out about Geno? I think he's basically taken all his stuff down from the Raiders on Instagram, but I haven't seen anything else. I'll say this. Geno served the purpose Seattle needed him to serve for the time that he took over for Russ, but he was never going to put Seattle in this position. And I'll be honest, people may disagree with me on that and say, oh, if, Clint was here and Geno was here, it would have been the same outcome. No, because there are things, and I would tell everyone to do this. Go read Brady Henderson's article that he did about how Seattle got to Sam Darnold and that whole decision process.
I read that, actually. That was an interesting article.
There's a lot of interesting tidbits about the year prior when Mike first came to Seattle, what some of the things Geno and his camp did that really started to sour and erode that relationship, where then when it came to the extension offer, they basically kind of just knocked it away from what John and them put out and didn't really counter argue. So it put Seattle in the position. I think you saw exactly what Geno Smith is when he's allowed to be Geno Smith. And I think
Seattle, or he's in a Chip Kelly offense too.
That too. That probably didn't help. And a Pete Carroll system at the age Pete is now didn't help either. But the move to Sam Darnold, I think, kick-started this rebuild for Seattle faster than they were expecting it to go.
Yeah.
And it's probably a franchise-altering move in some respects that I think we'll look back on 10 years from now and go, remember when Seattle moved off of Geno for Sam?
Yeah. Look, Sam's great, and he's played well this season. Now, the last thing you need to see is what we were talking about. You just need to see him win this game. And you need, and the thing is I can't stand QB wins, because that's the reason that people believe that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback.
Yes.
Right? And Sam doesn't have to be the driving force of this game for them to win. But that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. But the QB wins thing, it's insufferable. And that's why. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP. I don't care. That's Saquon Barkley and Kellen Moore's ring. That's not your ring, dude. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl.
The list, Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl. But you can go on and on with this. But the thing for me is, I even go back to Seattle's Super Bowl win. Russ made some plays, yes. And Russ had moments throughout that season where his athleticism and his ability to do certain things afforded Seattle some opportunities. That Super Bowl ring is because of number 24 in the backfield and the Legion of Boom defense as a collective. That's why that Super Bowl happened, because I, to this point, feel like if you had taken Matt Hasselbeck from when he was in Seattle in his prime and plopped him on that 2013 team, Seattle's still winning a Super Bowl with that team, because it was Russ, make us 3 or 4 plays, don't kill us. Our defense isn't going to give up more than 13 points in a game generally, so you're good. And that's kind of what Sam's living in now.
And it's funny that you bring up that Super Bowl with Matt Hasselbeck, because Ben Roethlisberger gets credit for that ring. Right? Exactly. Like what are we talking about here? I just think that a lot of the time with quarterback discussion, nuance is lost. Everything is, did they win the game? He's a
Mhm.
winner. You know who was a winner? Jimmy Garoppolo. He was a winner. Come on, what are we looking at here? Like, you have to be able to look at it. There's plenty of guys like we start out to having a conversation about Justin Herbert real soon. I don't know.
Yes.
Well, maybe we should start having it. But like talent and winning and all those things, it's part of the equation. And it's a very nuanced conversation with quarterbacks. And winning, while great, what's better than winning is winning. But it's just it. I can't stand the QB wins thing. Like I really just it blows my mind when people are like, look at how many wins this guy has, and I'm just like, I'd take 10, 12 other quarterbacks over him. Not even joking.
Totally agree with you on the QB wins thing, man. I think it's a completely misjudged and misused stat to justify narratives. And it's not where we actually dive deep and look at like the surroundings. Like, look at Terry Bradshaw. He won 4 Super Bowls with that
Wait,
Steelers team. But he's a prime example, man.
Joe Namath won a Super Bowl and he's in the Hall of Fame. He's awful. I mean, I understand that you could tell the story. You can't tell the story of the NFL without Joe Namath. But my God, look at those numbers. And the only reason that he's in is because he called his shot against the Colts. But he was awful, right? Put it like this. Put it this way. Eli Manning's struggling right now to get into the Hall of Fame. And I would argue that him winning those 2 Super Bowls automatically should have put him in.
Yep.
He beat the Patriots twice, and you're struggling to put him in, but you're looking at like a guy like Namath is in, and this guy like Joe Namath was awful. And I didn't have to watch him play to know the numbers are gross. He just won the 1 Super Bowl.
We got 2 donations here, Jason. We'll get into these right now. So we've got Keith and Bernie from the Unbeaten goes, Kyle is 7-0 in this round as a coach. I see that. Staying the same. Niners 17-14 over the Hawks.
Bryce, there's only 2 ways that the 49ers seasons end. Either they don't make the playoffs or they end up in the NFC Championship. Something has to give. Something has to give.
That's fair. And we got a $2 donation from your side over there on Sprint,
Nice.
right? Jalen here goes, Sam's had 1 good drive, not a good big game ever. And I'll say my counterpoint to that, Jalen, and I agree with you, he hasn't had the opportunity, given where he's played prior, to have big games outside of last year with Minnesota and the couple this year in Seattle. It's not like we're sitting about a guy that's talking about someone that's had like 30 or 40 opportunities for big games. We're talking about a guy that's had like 3 or 4 at this point. And you're right. He hasn't had a good big game ever, but what does that look like? What is a good big game ever? Because as Jason, you and me pointed out on this, is he played in week 18 a good game that included 0 touchdowns, and he didn't throw for 300 yards, and it was a big game. They had to win to get the NFC West, and he won. Yeah. So where does that conversation start? Yep, QB wins. It's an exact point there. So, but appreciate you guys for the donations. That's great. And everyone else that's been in the chat. But Jason, I know you got to get out of here. I got to get out of here too. So let's do the final whistle. Jason, what is your prediction this weekend?
Listen, you know where I'm going. This is going to be a fist fight in a phone booth. I think the 49ers are upset. I think the 49ers don't like what they put on tape in week 18. I think Kyle Shanahan is ready to unleash the tool bag the full way. San Francisco 49ers win this one 21-17 in an absolute dogfight. Points will be at a premium in this one. The 49ers defense has actually played better. Shout out to Eric Kendricks. Shout out to Garrett Wallow, who, I'll be honest, I had no idea who he was, and I eat, sleep, breathe, and cover this team. I had no idea who he was. He was poached off of Denver's practice squad. You get a boost back with D. Winters. It does sound like Jair Brown's not going to be there, but Marcus Siegel stepped in and was incredible in this game. Clean up the missed tackles. You can't have 18 missed tackles. Play fast, play free. You're playing with house money. Give me the San Francisco 49ers in this one.
So I'm obviously going to go the opposite way, and I think you knew that was coming. So I will say this. I think the Niners lead at halftime. because I think the opposite, Jason, of what you mentioned earlier. I think Seattle's going to come out with a more conservative approach due to the fact you guys are as injured, and kind of see, like, let's kind of let the 49ers throw all their haymakers and try and get up on us. And we'll sit in the corner of this ring and take the body blows and these things. And then let's see if they have the durability to last in the second half, where Seattle has been a very good second half team this year. They're one of the only teams in the NFL that have multiple 30-plus halves in the second. I think this game ends up being, I'm going to go 31-24 Seattle. I think that's how it ends. But I don't think
many points.
I think Kyle's going to be in his bag. I think it's going to test Seattle. And I think Sam Darnold's going to have moments where he's going to prove some of the narrative wrong. But I think the biggest thing is going to be Seattle's run game. And I'll say this. My X factor for Seattle in this game is A.J. Barner, the tight end. I think he's a guy that might be more of a weapon than people realize. And he's going to get kind of a national welcome coming out party this weekend. But man, I appreciate you so much being on here. This is so much fun to talk ball with you, and maybe we'll come up with a couple more ways to connect over the off season here. But Jason, for all my viewers and listeners, where can they find more of your content that you write as well as your shows?
Yeah, NinersNation.com is where I write. The show that I'll be doing on my channel is going to be about why Kyle Juszczyk and Ricky Pearsall are going to be the biggest factors in this game. And I've got film clips and reasons why. And we'll talk all the recent 49ers injury reports and all that. But NinersNation.com, you can follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. And my YouTube channel is just Jason Aponte. You can just search that up. It'll probably pop up Jason Aponte 49ers. But good to see you, Bryce. And we'll talk tomorrow on Sprint Right Option. We'll have some more fun. It'll be me, you, and Andrew. We always like having you on as well, too.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to be on there tomorrow. And for everyone here, again, if you guys haven't, please head over to Jason's channel, sub up over there. And if you enjoyed the content on the Seahawks side here, come sub up to the Hawks Eye as well and support both of our shows and help us get out more in that YouTube algorithm, which is always a moving obstacle when we talk about moving goalposts. But if you guys enjoyed listening to this, head on over to Brandon Kane and the Hawks Nest, because the Seahawks Syndicate is about to start in 15 minutes with myself, Dan Viens, and Mookie Alexander and Brandon. It'll be streamed here as well, but we'll see you guys all in 15 minutes. And as always, stay loud, be proud, go Hawks. See you guys later.